Great. First question will be from John Worrow.
Hey, Sean, welcome back to North America.
Good to be back. Good to be back in the States here.
There you go. Hate to be asking an injury update question for the second time in 2 Mondays, but can you give us an update on Matt and DaQuan?
Yeah, both are going to be out. Matt has a leg injury that requires surgery, and DaQuan has a pec that requires surgery.
Is there a timetable? Do you expect them to miss the remainder of the season?
Don't know all of that yet, but that's really all the information I have right now.
What does that do to your defense, losing 2 more key players after, having to deal with, Tre'Davious being, going down last week?
Yeah, I mean, I applaud the guys, being down probably 5 starters during the game. They played hard. I mean, they gave it everything they had. And but listen, injuries are not an excuse. It's the next man up approach, and you do what you're called to do, and that's to step up and step in when somebody goes down like this.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Alex Brasky, Batavia Daily News. I know you mentioned AJ's confidence a few times as something that's led to his increased performance this year. Is there anything else that you've noticed from him? And just could you speak on his ability to step up in a moment where you needed him most yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a big momentum shift for us in the way that he was just really, the whole front was playing very intense. And again, we were down some numbers there. Vaughn was on the pitch count. And so those guys really, their rep count was extremely high for defensive linemen in particular, a few of them. And AJ being one of them gave it all he had and made some huge plays. And I really believe it comes down to his confidence and the preparation this year that he's putting in. His process during the week is getting him in position to have that success on game day.
Now, the running game has really taken a step forward seemingly this year. Wasn't the case yesterday. James Cook, negative yardage. Now that you've had a chance to watch the tape, what do you feel led to some struggles in the running game against the Jaguars?
Well, you've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage early in the football game. And I think establishing that line of scrimmage, we had that first run, the first play of the game, which we got 5 yards on. But after that, it was tough sledding. And so we've got to go back and look at that. And it's something we've got to do a better job of moving forward for sure.
All right, thanks.
Hi, Sean. You said that Vaughn was on a pitch count, and I know he had 20 snaps. I'm assuming that's what the pitch count was. Was that a hard number going into the game? Was it something that you took a look at as the game was going because you were losing players? How did that work?
Well, we wanted to make sure that we didn't have a setback in Vaughn's situation. We didn't want to do that for sure. That was number one. And then, he was right at that 20 number, give or take. And so Coach Eric Washington shut him down. And then he had a chance to watch and help coach on the sideline and lead from the sideline at that point the rest of the game.
And going into this week, how do you think Vaughn came out of this game, then how you'll proceed with him going forward?
Right. I mentioned this last week, Sal, getting one's first practice underneath his belt last week was important. And then now his first game. And so from here, he'll just continue to build week to week.
And did you have any update on the guys who did miss? Christian Benford, Greg Rousseau, and Shaq Lawson are the guys specifically I'm referring to.
Yeah, they are all improving. They'll all be day to day. So we'll see how it goes.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Sean. I was curious. Yesterday in the game, you put Dorian Williams in after Matt Milano went out. You went to Tyrell Dotson after that. You talked a little bit about it after the game, but what went into the change? And then after you got a chance to look at both of them on tape, what did you make of their performances?
Right. We just felt like Dorian being in there, he was struggling a little bit with some of the tackling. So we felt like at the time, hey, let's give T-Dot a chance in there and try and calm it down a little bit. T-Dot being the more experienced player, obviously, in this situation. I thought T-Dot came in and did some good things, and then like Dorian had some challenges as well. And So, at the end of the day, they're both good football players for us, and we'll both be called on in the future to help us out here.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Coach Mookie Arkins, welcome to Sports Radio. Welcome back.
Hey, Mookie, how you doing?
I'm good, Coach. I'm good. I'm glad to, be back on U.S. soil for you guys. I know it was quite the trip for you, but nevertheless, I mean, it is what it is. Not enough balance yesterday. How do you guys get back to being more balanced, Coach?
Are you talking run pass?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, it's something you try and shoot for every week. You're not always going to get it. I mean, sometimes you stick with what's working. In this case, we really didn't find our rhythm offensively until midway through or just at the top of the fourth quarter there. So something we've got to establish earlier, getting into a rhythm offensively, whether it be via the run or the pass.
Absolutely, Coach. And on the flip side of that, I mean, you was dialing it up yesterday. Definitely dialing it up. But to get that balance on the defensive side as far as run and pressure, where do you feel that you could have dipped more in certain areas?
Well, you're always looking back at things and saying, "Hey, I wish I had that call back," or what have you. At the end of the day, we're going to do what we feel like it's necessary, what it takes to win the game. And Lawrence was a guy who had struggled going into the game with pressure and different types of coverage, and we threw different looks at him and things. And I thought through the better part of three and a half quarters there, we had him at 11 points, and then I think we just wore it down after that. We didn't do a good enough job. I didn't do a good enough job putting the guys in position, and we missed some tackles and some plays that were there to be made. But those are things we'll learn from and use going forward here.
One more, Coach, if I may. Depth at linebacker, I know you got guys from within that definitely can get the job done, but would you look outside in free agency to some linebackers like Rashad Evans, Anthony Barr, those type of guys?
Yeah, we'll start inside first, and then if need be, we'll go outside, but we'll start inside first. That's how we always go.
Yes, sir. See you at practice, Coach.
Sean, it's Kim Jones. I'm thrilled to say hello to you again. How are you?
I'm doing good, Kim. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Just wondering about your defensive front, and I understand how injuries change things, obviously for teams, but it certainly seemed like that front that you started the season with and perhaps even have most of now is really formidable and the kind of front maybe that you'd been looking for a number of years. If I'm wrong on that, I want you to correct me, but that from a distance is how that seems.
Last season, we were, I think, playing at a pretty high level, Vaughn going down. We had some other injuries that contributed to some things. I felt like one of the main injuries last year for us was a calf injury. Everyone had a calf injury last year. It's just funny how that works, right? There's always one injury that continues to show up every year. But in this case, as the guys got off, in week one, they got off to a pretty good start, and then it's infectious and it just rolls from there. Their confidence has been high, and they're playing well together, right? The kind of the chemistry between the four that are rushing together, and I think that's been really fun to watch.
And if I may, you're going to see obviously Brian Daboll and his staff, on the other sideline. Have you thought at all about what that would be like, or reflected at all on that?
From going against Coach Daboll.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Brian. I mean, he seems extremely happy. He's earned that head coaching opportunity, did a fabulous job in year one, and a lot of their staff over there who were with us, and Brian took over there, as well as Joe Shane, who does an amazing job as a general manager. Real sharp personnel guys. So they're in good hands, and it'll be a big test for us here.
My best to your family, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you. Likewise, Kim.
Hey, Sean, this is Mark Canizaro from the New York Post. I appreciate you doing this,
Sure.
including us. With regard to Dave's, obviously you guys are going through your own adversity issues with injuries and whatnot. He's had some issues here in New York. I'm curious, as well as you know him, how you feel he will handle or handles this adversity. And just as a follow-up, when things are going sideways, as they have been here, how difficult as a coach is it to stick to the plan and make sure that your locker room, sticks to that and believes in it, if that makes any sense?
No, yeah, I mean, Coach Daboll, he's been around the league a long time. He's worked in, multiple places at the college and pro level, and I'm sure he's going to do a phenomenal job of leading that group through it. We all go through injuries. We've had our fair share. As you mentioned, I'm sure he's had his fair share, and listen, it's part of the league, right? Part of the journey of the season, and you got to find a way through it.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Yes, good afternoon, Coach McDermott, George Radney, Challenger Community News. Welcome back to Buffalo.
Thanks, George. Good to see you, buddy.
Yes, indeed. You too. Two questions for you. One, on the pass interference, not pass interference, but was called unnecessary roughness on Jordan Poyer on that third down when you had Jacksonville pinned in their own and within their own goal line there. And even when you saw it live, you could see that the receiver initiated the contact with the defender, in this case being Jordan Poyer, and Poyer had his shoulder. It was no helmet to helmet contact whatsoever on the play, and yet they still called unnecessary roughness. Are they able to review those type of situational calls?
Yeah, I mean, those are tough. I mean, sometimes, they're bang plays, George, and it's the optics of it, I guess, what it looks like and versus what it is, are sometimes two different things. And I understand always wanting to protect the head and neck area. That's certainly important. In this case, I felt like it was in a little bit of Jordan almost protecting himself because the player was about to come into his legs right there. So he had to brace. So anyway, I mean, listen, that was definitely a momentum shift in the game. We were going to have them backed up there, punting out of their own end zone. So that's the way to go. That's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. So, but regardless of what happens, you got to reset and get yourself back ready for the next play.
Yeah, and wasn't the ball tipped on that play too, where it would have made it no harm, no foul?
Well, Micah tipped it. I believe Micah tipped it. He was the underneath defender, I believe, if I'm correct on that, and Jordan was in the post. So, yeah.
Well, I thought that automatically negates any type of contact unless it was something really, malicious or something.
Well, I think that's what they had in mind when they ruled the way they did.
Okay. And last question, on the surface, was there any concerns with that surface? Because on TV, it looked really sticky. It looked like a lot of your guys' shoes were sticking to the turf. They wasn't really a fluid motion. Was there any concerns during pregame or walkthroughs on there?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have injuries, you're always, hate to see injuries happen. But at the end of the day, we're not making excuses. It's they had to play on the same surface we did. So at the end of the day, we move forward from here.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time. Good luck this coming Sunday.
Yeah, thank you, George.
Hey, Sean, AJ Feldman here in Rochester. Thanks for taking the time. With Matt Milano out of the lineup, whether it's Terrell or Dorian, you're kind of missing that veteran presence in the linebacker. Not a whole lot of starts on the inside. Do you ever see that changing any way that you call your defense to maybe simplify for them, or do you just kind of plug and play and move forward from there?
Well, I mean, I think you always have to be sensitive to the players that you have out there in terms of knowing who you have out there, what they do best, and what can equip them best to play at their best, right? So I think that's part of putting them in the position that you try and do every week via the game plan and then how you call it. So you need to be aware of it. Very confident in all those players that you mentioned, their names, and we'll just see how the week unfolds here.
And what kind of maybe additional responsibility does this put on Terrell, working with a different linebacker in the middle there, and how much confidence do you have him going forward in doing that?
Well, he's a young player himself, so he's going to have the added challenge now of building that rapport that he once was starting to build with Matt, and now he'll need to build it with the other two guys here in a quick fashion here. So very confident in him and his ability to do that, as well as their ability to work alongside of TB.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Sure.
Hello, Coach. I was just wondering, Coach Peterson said that he'd like to see every team should spend back-to-back weekends in London. Is that something that you would consider?
Well, as I said after the game, we have to evaluate everything. not just what went on the field, but off the field in terms of our overall plan and the research that we did to put us in that position. I think the one thing that is not out there to even to research is when one team goes over, 12 days ahead and the other team comes over, following that. So we didn't have much data on that to my knowledge. And I've got that secondhand information through the people who did the research for us here. So listen, at the end of the day, they outplayed us, they outcoached us. We didn't do enough to win, and that's the bottom line. We move forward from here and learn from it.
So there wouldn't be anything that you would do differently. Say you'd played a team that arrived on the Friday like you did.
Well, again, we would start over again with our process and the research that we would do again, just to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And I know Baltimore's over there or going over there now, I believe, and I think Tennessee's coming later, if I'm not mistaken. So I think, again, the more people do this, where there's a team playing and staying, I think there'll be more data available, right, to study it and see what works best. And so, from what I've been told, in order to really acclimate, you've got to get out there 12 plus days ahead of time. And of course, we had to play a game the week before, so we weren't able to do that. So, but again, we've moved on. Congrats to the Jaguars. We're looking at the Giants.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey coach, just one more if I could. Josh has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks. Stefan is flourished. Gabe Davis catching touchdowns. Is there any pressing need to get any of these other weapons involved? Some of the guys you picked up through free agency, along with the rookie Kincaid.
I would say yes to all. I mean, we need to get more people involved. We need to get the ball moved around. I mean, it's just, Dawson and Dalton both have some injuries right now. Dalton's in the concussion protocol, and Dawson has a wrist injury that he's working through, and we'll see where it goes right now. So we'll see what their availability is this week. But yes, to your question.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
That's all the questions for today. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Caleb.